Welcome everyone, I am Peeze Simon. I am your host, and this is Call the Audible, where you are watching or perhaps listening to us. I am joined by my colleague Simon Dajne. For those who want to follow me at this point, if you haven't followed me yet, there's still time. I'm not home yet.
Don't do it.
You can follow me at Peeze FPF. I sometimes tweet about flag football and nothing else. It's the only source. I don't understand Twitter for any other purpose, but that's just me.
Bad mouthing your opponent in a presidential race?
I guess. I mean,
talking about things just because people paid more attention to Twitter than actual news.
Well, it's funny though, because one year there was an earthquake and I found out there was an earthquake by going to Twitter. I was like, what was that? And there was no news anywhere. I went on Twitter and people were like, did you feel that earthquake? I was like, I guess it was an earthquake.
Well, for that purpose, Twitter has been fantastic.
There was also once I posted a picture of a frozen Snickers.
Okay.
And
it sounds delicious, by the way.
It's the greatest. Again, I know how to be fat. it's the greatest snack. It's better than ice cream. And Dean Me Feel Good of No Regard fame. Then he added me and this girl, and was like, this girl also likes frozen Snickers, and she's got butt. And we still follow each other to this day. Like, she liked one of my photos the other day on Facebook.
But why not?
Frozen Snickers bring people together on Twitter.
It does.
I mean, it does sound delicious. Is it better than frozen passion flicky?
Frozen passion flicky is high level. I don't know if it's better.
That thing's good.
Would you rather have a deep fried Snickers or a frozen Snickers?
Oh, I prefer frozen. Deep fried is good too, though. But the guy who brings the show together, like the peanuts and caramel of this show, to our nougat, is the Eagle Master Control. And if you want to tweet us live at the show, you can tweet us at EagleFPF, or you can talk to us on YouTube Live. Yep. Eagle will read your stuff to us, and we will respond to you and likely make fun of you.
And it will appear on screen, so PG-13, please.
There's also that.
I mean, even if it's not like we have sponsors or anything.
Emojis aren't
FPF podcast Calling the Audible is brought to you by DAZN. Watch every NFL game this season. DAZN, that's DAZN.com, is the only place in Canada that will show every single NFL game live, including all playoffs and the Super Bowl, plus NFL Game Pass, NFL Red Zone, and NFL Sunday Ticket. DAZN is offering Canadians access to the NFL, greater access to the NFL, than they've ever had before. They can be viewed on smartphones, tablets, etc. Fans can follow their favorite teams and leagues and players for the affordable monthly price of $20 a month or an annual subscription of $150.
This week, I wasn't able to watch my Green Bay Packers play the Minnesota Vikings on regular cable because they felt like other games were more important. And thankfully, I had DAZN so I can watch Aaron Rodgers go down.
You're a Packers fan?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Go down on who?
on the entire state of Wisconsin, basically.
I watched the games on DAZN because I cut cable because it's stupid.
Because you're a Miami fan and nobody wants to see that.
Well, I watch on DAZN.
Yes, because nobody wants to see that.
Well, it's honestly because we have two providers of satellite, or I guess whatever, cable television, and they're both atrocious companies. If you work there, you should quit. You basically work for the Nazis.
What did we say pre-show?
I said after the ad.
Hey, I'm kind of happy I'm not the one who said it, so there's also that.
I said basically. I didn't say it's the same. It's a simile, not a metaphor.
So it's been 7 weeks, and I just realized that DAZN's going to have a Super Bowl. Do you think they're going to have the commercials for Super Bowl as well?
I don't know, because when the games are on Canadian channels,
yes,
instead of having like the DAZN interviews and such, you actually have the Canadian interviews.
Because it just happened this weekend, the Green Bay game was coming from CTV Winnipeg, so it's as if you were watching it from Canada. So you're gonna have Canadian commercials effectively.
But if we watch a Super Bowl, we have it. Let's say Fox, Quebec, or Montreal.
You get the Canadian commercials. Yeah.
I know, because the organization I work for pays for commercials during the Super Bowl.
So we're not gonna have American Super Bowl.
No, you're gonna watch my crappy commercial that I directed. Speaking of work, today I had my yearly contraceptive. It was the English Montreal School Board Career Fair. It reminded me why I will never have children. I work in a cooking school, St. Pius X.
Wow, that was brutal.
We host the event and every other event because we have the food. And man, seeing all the douchebags in high school made me realize children may not be for me. And like I'm sure you guys are with me that we're fairly close in age that you know that you're seeing your friends starting to have children.
My brothers.
Your brothers, and well, yeah, we just saw the picture.
Yes. My brother had a kid on Monday. I was at the hospital on Monday. It sounds fun. It looks fun, but it's not.
What I like about kids is that I don't have them, such that you pick them up, you're like, oh, you're cute, and then they start crying, you're like, here, take it back. I don't have to deal with this now, you know? It's your problem.
I'll deal with this for 3 hours, and then, you know, I'll go do something else.
That's it. I'll tag team you out so you can take a nap, but then you're coming back in.
Exactly. When he poops tonight, not my problem.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, it was for me anyway. It's a sobering experience every time. It's why, by the way, if you're watching, I look completely exhausted.
It's why I drink.
it's also why I had to stop by a bar on my way here, which probably is a lot how Smokin Axolotls felt as they once again could not win. And they lose the Keyport lock by a score of 25-13. Jordan Rossi takes over at quarterback.
Yep.
And William Power takes on a bigger role in the offense.
I think he had 50% of the targets on Tuesday.
It's his catches.
Yeah, like he played well, to be honest. Like every time I turned around, William was catching the ball. And not always good throws, not always nice targets. In traffic.
He plays with me, so it's not always
exactly like either. 2 guys on his back in traffic, still made the catch. Like he looked really good, he looked impressive. He made catches maybe he shouldn't have made. Like if you have 2 guys on your back and you're going up for a ball with one hand, you're not supposed to tip it back to yourself and catch it. Like it's supposed to be an incomplete.
The thing he does really well is track the ball in the air.
Yep.
And he'll make plays like that where he tips it to himself because of how well he plays the ball in the air. Yet he's a guy who, depending on certain systems and certain quarterbacks, doesn't always get all the looks. Why do you? What is it that you and I see when we see him that other quarterbacks may not see?
I feel he's not the fastest guy on the field.
Correct.
And he's not like his routes are not necessarily the sharpest routes. When you look at him, he doesn't break open always. Like he doesn't create that separation with the DB. So when you're just quickly reading the field, you're not like I had the same problem. Okay. When he's quickly reading the field, you kind of feel like
you don't have to say it.
I know, because you looked at me like, is it just me?
I looked at Eagle actually.
For those who have no idea what's going on, Peeze just had a headset malfunction, and Simon called it on.
I also added.
Now that everyone's on the same page,
thank you analysis about William Power.
I just feel like he's not the kind of guy who gets a separation from DB so quickly. When you look around, you don't see him. He doesn't stand out. Like I'm open, but if you throw a ball there, he's gonna make the catch.
What he does do well, to your point, he does the best on long developing routes, and especially systems that have sort of multiple reads in the same window, because you'll get to the read where he's by himself essentially, or you know, once you've thrown to him enough, you know, I can just put it up and he'll go.
Yeah, it's the trust factor.
Smokin Axolotls unable to score in the second half of this game. What do you think that was?
Jordan didn't have the best.
Jordan Rossi.
Yeah, didn't have the best outing in the second half. He looked good in the first half. They stuck around with him, but he kept forcing it in areas where it wasn't successful for them. You kept trying against Jadaridi, for instance, which we both know is a very good defensive player. Adam Rockman had a very good night playing safety for Keyport Lock. Mo Khan called him Eric Guido for some reason. You know Mo. It's the kind of thing Mo does. Anyways,
let me talk to you about a very mediocre safety that we'll all forget about in 6 years. Go ahead.
So it's just, I think Keyport Lock adjusted well to what Smokin Axolotls were trying to do, and they didn't innovate enough. They would keep trying to go to the same place, same guys, and Keyport Lock shut it down.
Jeff Rosenblatt played a predictably safe game and won the game. Is he the most... Is it the greatest disparity between interesting person and disinteresting style of play that you've ever seen?
I like Jeff.
I like him as I find him a very interesting person.
Fair. Do you like watching Jeff play quarterback?
No, it's boring.
God, no.
Well, it's a dink and dunk system where he's going to throw all these slants and underneaths constantly and then take one shot deep every 6 or 7 pass. So the system works because that's how you should.
But even that, I've seen quarterbacks do the dink and dunk, and it's fun, exciting. Guys are making crazy plays in the open, taking up field. It just seems like he's always hitting a guy at the end of the route, getting the flag instantly. Like a 4-yard out, is always a 4-yard out.
Yeah,
because no one turns upfield.
Because he hits them too close to the sideline, so when you catch it, you're out of bounds, or trying to cut back into the route, but the guy's right there.
Yeah, the defender's trailing you usually.
You're not going to get yaks. I think it's the timing on the patterns that doesn't allow him to get yaks, but it works. Listen, they've been winning, and who are we to complain?
It's true. I guess in a lot of cases, winning is everything, but I do want to ask you something. There's an argument I saw on Facebook between, I forget which player, one of the players in FPF.
Okay.
Posted a video about Antonio Brown making a ridiculous catch he made after the tip pass. It was actually a terrible ball. It should have been intercepted by Kansas City.
Off the helmet and back into Brown. Yeah, I remember.
With one hand, and he took it upfield. It was he's like something like better than Jerry Rice or greatest of all time.
Yeah, I remember that.
And Brett Balkin posted, "We'll talk to me when you win Super Bowls," which I find a flawed argument.
Brett Balkin. Yeah, because you're also a Miami fan.
Well, I mean, perfect season.
Dan Marino.
But here, okay, let's use that as an example. So, if Jerry Rice plays with the Dolphins instead, and wins either no Super Bowls, or Dan Marino gets a whole bunch of Super Bowls, does that make Dan Marino better than he was? Or does that make Jerry Rice less good if he doesn't win the Super Bowls?
Well, it gives him a smaller platform to perform.
No, I'm saying, is the player better or worse based on the fact that the context changed, so therefore they didn't win the championships they want in a system that was provided for them?
It's like the FPF argument of, these guys suck in the playoffs. Okay, but he's still a good player.
Yeah, I mean, and here's the other thing, is also ranking people, as you know, to me is dumb. It's like, hey, LeBron, Michael Jordan, blah, blah. Who cares?
Well, it's only dumb because you need to define a scale as to which one's better and evaluate them, and your scale is always going to be biased in one direction or another.
Also, I mean, look, this may not be the case for everyone listening or watching. I've had the opportunity to watch both Antonio Brown and Jerry Rice. It's been amazing.
Yeah.
My life is amazing. The conversation is over. That's all it is. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, why does it need to become a measure?
Why do they need to
hockey has the whole Gretzky, Lemieux, McDavid, Crosby. They're all amazing players.
Exactly.
Just and I would want any of them. Exactly. Yeah.
Different ways. They're all great to watch. So
it seems so, and the anger that comes associated with these conversations.
You get so mad.
And Leo Gervais, who I love, anytime there's like a Tom Brady argument, it's like, but Joe Montana was undefeated.
He always does that.
Who cares? Are you saying Tom Brady is not great?
That sounds like
does it matter? And also when you're talking about that level of ability, not even greatness. I'm not talking about I'm not talking about impact. I'm talking about ability. Does it matter that if they got the all-time Madden rating of 99.9 or 99.8, that you're splitting hairs? You know what I mean? Like, yes, they're amazing. Of all the most amazing athletes in the world, they're the top.
Yes.
Cool. Why do we need to put one ahead of the other?
For clarity, we're not comparing Jeff Rosenblatt to Tom Brady.
Absolutely. I mean, he's way worse.
It's not even close. Sorry, Jeff.
Definitely. But a guy looking a bit more like it, of course, was Gianni Statino, as he led Freshii Superfoods on the heels of Simon Dagenet's question of, is Gianni Statino overrated? Led Freshii Superfoods to a win of 45-41 over KGP Ron. Nearly perfect quarterback rating. Phil Cutler, in his own right, holding his own with a Division 5 team.
With his cast, yes.
Against the core of basically a Division 1 team.
Yeah.
He must have a lot of dudes eating their words at this point. Like, we ride on him last season.
Phil's not
He's the guy that's been questioned the most since I started working for FPF.
I think Phil doesn't like us in some way. I think he likes us as human beings, but he just doesn't care about the media. He's just like, screw you guys. No, Phil, I don't know. There's something about him. He makes it work with these guys. Mm-hmm. He plays against top tier teams. That Freshii Superfood is most like a Division 2 team when you look at the team itself, right? Yeah. But when you look at a team, it looks like a Division 2 team. KGP Raw is not a Division 2 team, even with Phil there. No. But they kept it really, really close. It came down to one possession where they had one interception, and they finished 45-41. Yeah. It's a really good game for both teams. It shows that both teams are really good offensively, and they both have deep flaws defensively.
Jonathan Garfinkel was the guy we both picked in fantasy last week.
Yep.
And we're both wrong.
Yes.
Because he didn't do anything. But in this game, 3 catches, 3 TDs. Are you surprised? Because Garfinkel's kind of a diminutive guy. He's very small compared to the guys that he'll play against in the higher division, and guys that are used to playing more physical. So he's surprised that he had this kind of game against Freshii Superfoods.
Well, when you see him play, he doesn't look the part, but when you see him play, he's a very physical guy. Like he doesn't shy away from contact.
No.
He goes underneath. He knows you can't hit him, so he plays accordingly. He's the kind of guy that's not afraid to just swoop right underneath you, catch the ball, and look at you as he does it, because you cannot hit him. Yeah. Otherwise, people wouldn't do those kind of things because it's crazy. So
the way you can play in flag is different.
Exactly.
You would play if this was tackle.
But the way Phil Cutler runs his offense, I find it's just he finds the right guy. He doesn't just tunnel on one individual. So Garfinkel's gonna have up and down weeks. Like he's still a very important weapon for him. But see, this week Gabe had the most receptions, yards, and 2 touchdowns. Yeah. And last week I don't think he was on the score sheet. Yeah. So I think it goes with matchups. And
Conor O'Brien for Freshii Superfoods, he was the one who was most present on the score sheet. More than Mathieu Lapage even. Yeah. 4 catches, 117 yards, 4 touchdowns.
That's very impressive. Well, if you look at 4 catches or 4 touchdowns, I'm assuming they're just broken coverage. Like he just sends them on goes and there's touchdowns. Yeah. Right? Like it's not.
I mean, I wasn't there for the game, so I don't know if it's yards after the catch or if it's plays in the open.
But most likely, when you look at it, but he's the kind of guy that's not known for being an offensive weapon in FPF. It's been a defensive player for the most times he's played. But I think Gianni finds a way to use him, and he might have fallen in love with the guy with 4 touchdowns for 117 yards. Yeah, it's a pretty good night.
So over the last little while, you yourself and Eagle have both had the opportunity to eat with me in a public setting. Yeah. You came to dinner at a restaurant recently, Eagle last year. Yes. And Justin Blanchard of the FPF media team and FPF as well, lightweight receiver.
Yes, people know him.
He was surprised at the fact that I was a human being. So he was surprised that I wasn't in podcast form or an article form where I'm a little off.
Wait, you could talk about other things than FPF?
You mean you were polite and civilized?
Yeah, and he was.
Thank you, Eagle.
He was amazed that the chefs that I work with came to talk to me.
They had respect for you. Yeah, because we sure don't.
No, but it's fun. This is the arena I want in FPF. Right, I wanted to just be like I said. To me, the FPF media has to feel like a bunch of dudes watching football, talking football, and things that aren't football, because that's what you do when you're sitting around watching football. You sometimes will get into things about yearly contraceptives, but so like that. But the thing is, at work, it's different. We're different people, and it was just he was so amazed, and it was like little things where I would turn to Sophie, your girlfriend, and offer her hey, do you want some bread? And he was amazed by this transaction.
You're offering things to people now?
It was the weirdest thing. It led me to believe that perhaps I'm not the weird one. Perhaps he's very strange. This is his actual personality.
Poor naive Justin.
Well, I think it's the kind of perspective you develop when you start having a real job, a career, and you realize I'm not the same person at work than I am with my friends. Yeah. Whereas when you're a student and the job you have, it doesn't really matter. So you don't have to be nice at work. You don't have to be a good person, because this job I'm going to.
But I would argue the opposite. To be honest, I'm more that person in reality than I am this person. But this is fun. This is professional wrestling to me.
Everyone loves to be an asshole.
Yeah, it's very true. Yeah, of course, with no consequence, with no HR department.
Oh man, that's one of the reasons why I want to run the business at some point. Because I can't get fired.
Oh, okay.
You totally can get fired from your own business.
Yeah. No, you can't.
Yes.
I mean,
no.
Yes.
No, I'll just fire everybody else and start anew.
No, see. I don't care. So
the way you guys are going home.
The way you get fired as an owner is all your clients leave.
No, I'm nice to clients, not to employees.
But then you do get fired, but then you have other opportunities in the unemployment line. So that's possible.
I heard Showmatch pretty good around here.
I mean, it is what it is, right? Such is the case, of course, with No Name. They do get a win, 26-20, but some strange circumstance. It was built around Sean Collins being quarterback. He's benched after a drive. Now, we have a difference of opinion as to what happened.
Yes.
One of it is based on conversing with the team, and the other one is based on
what I saw.
No facts. Just Simo's interpretation. But let's start with the conversation Eagle had with Sean Collins.
Basically, he told me that as a GM, he decided that for the best of the team, it would be best if Grizzly would take over. Jonathan Grizzly would take over as quarterback for the rest of the season, year, cup, whatever you want to call it, because effectively he is better as a receiver on that team. Grizzly with the mobility in the back allows them to run these plays where they kind of like flood zones and move things around, and that they're just going to have more success and be able to win with Grizzly as pivot. So he's basically said, as much as I want to learn as a quarterback and I want to develop, this isn't the time to do it because I feel like I'm letting my team down, and so we're moving forward with Jonathan Grizzly as QB.
I know what you meant when you said as GM, but then I just pictured Sean Collins having a child with GM Colettis, and how horrendously ugly that child would be. All GM's fault, of course, but what was your mindless assertion as to what's actually happening?
Most of what Sean said is true. Like, the team is better with John Grizzly as a quarterback, but I don't think that he did it in a nice way. It looked more like the team was so frustrated with Sean as a quarterback that they benched him for Grizzly. Last week in the game against Warriors, Sean played quarterback for the first half, and then they switched with John Grizzly to finish the game. And Grizzly, they did manage to tie the game, and they didn't win, but the offense moved a little bit more. This week they were down. Sean had one offensive drive where honestly it looked bad. He went 1 for 4, 8 yards. They got a hook. Rob White ran a little bit afterwards, got about 2 yards shy, and then he missed 3 open targets on back-to-back plays, and the receivers were all looking around, and I don't know the right word for it, but like when you're looking around for someone to blame, you're like, oh, what the is going on, you know?
It's designating,
kind of, yeah.
Looking around for someone to blame.
Yeah, so it was really bad, and then the following drive, Grizzly played the quarterback. So yeah, Sean Collins is a better receiver than he is quarterback. The team is better set up this way. But if your plan is to learn and you want to be a quarterback, I think fall season is the best season to start.
Yeah, and not only that, I would say that you won't get better by not playing quarterback.
100%. You need to try. You need to take reps and give.
The only reason I still throw is when I built teams.
You force people to play with you?
Well, no. I built a team where I can't play snapper because we go over the cap. so there's no alternative.
They can't put you back at receiver.
No, because we go over and we bust.
Brilliant.
And no, but what that did was, especially the first season or so, when I really struggled, it forced me, like, no, I have to get better.
Yes, you need to win.
No reason.
These guys are not happy. I need to figure out what I can do myself as a quarterback to make it work. It doesn't need to be the same offense everybody else does. Sean Collins is not as mobile as Jonathan Grizzly. Don't try to beat Jonathan Grizzly. Don't try to beat the rusher and do something else. Get the ball out quicker.
And that was the biggest thing in having watched him play. I said, one of the things I noticed is you can't stare down the rush and then make a play and then read the defense. That's what happened against the Warriors. Ignore the rusher. Basically.
If you look at the game tape against the Warriors, most of the times where he would get sacked, that's exactly what happened. Is he would look at the rusher, wait for the rusher to make a move, and then try to get away from him. But the problem is Sean's not explosive enough to do that against good rushers. And as soon as he made a step, the rusher would tackle him for a loss.
Yeah.
So instead, just ignore the rusher completely and play quarterback.
Daniel Goloff, for Mean Machine, who lost 26-20 in this game, seemed to struggle against a solid no-name defense. Their defense have always been good as long as this has been a roster.
Yes. So
it's been this franchise.
The game started no-name at only 5 guys. John Grizzly was late, and then Denzel ID was also late. He showed up like 10.
Denzel Idilo?
Yeah. He showed up like 10 or 15 minutes late to get to the game. So Mean Machine had a first touchdown, which was like a gift because they played 5 guys. Rob White was rushing. That means there's no Rob White on defense. But then when Denzel showed up, he became the rusher. They had their corners back. They had Rob White back. Grizzly was there. The team looked better. In the second half, when the game was on the line, 2 guys from a machine and an OC, which hurts in many ways.
Do you know which offhand? Or?
It was Goloff and someone else.
Did he miss any time at quarterback?
Yes, one of the guys had to play quarterback, on 2 plays. I think they punted afterwards.
Well, I mean, you're not going to win games.
Yes, exactly, right? So if your quarterback's not playing quarterback for you guys because he's on the bench due to an OC, you're not going to win games that way. It's just, when I watched the whole first half and a little bit of the second half, and from what I've gathered, Mean Machine should have won 40 to like 12. When I finished my game and I saw the score sheet and that Mean Machine lost, I was shocked.
Yeah.
That's the feeling I had. Was they were really destroying them, but lost.
Yeah. Well, again, the second half told the tale in this game. And that's the key when you're playing against No Name. No Name are guys who I've played against many times. Off the field, super nice dudes, but they will try and get under your skin when you're playing. And you will get OCs if you give it. You know what I mean? And like, we talked a lot about John Grizzly in this game. John Grizzly and I, off the field, we're joking, we're having a good time. The second the game starts, him and I are always trash talking from the first second of the game.
But he does it on purpose, though. It works for him. Like,
absolutely.
Grizz doesn't get OCs. You do. Like, he's smart enough to piss you off just enough, like poke the bear, and then walk away. Yeah. But people don't have that ability to just walk away
discipline that he has, you know. Halloween's coming up, gentlemen.
Yes.
Next Friday, of course, is
Pumped for Halloween.
Second season of Stranger Things comes out. For those of you who watch and are akin to the Upside Down, you'll be very excited as I am.
October 27th.
Mm-hmm.
I found the chocolate pudding, guys. That's my favorite line.
Yes. So I was thinking about. So I mean, we also discussed earlier in the show how none of us have children yet, so we still get to enjoy the glory of adult Halloween.
Thank God.
And I was wondering how it is you guys do that. How do you guys celebrate?
I've already started. I bought 400 pieces of candy, and they're at my desk at work.
I like that.
I don't understand how you're not diabetic.
I don't understand how he's not that fat yet.
I even separated them into the peanut-free, the peanut contains peanut, and then the doesn't contain peanut but was in the same box as the ones with the peanut, so you probably shouldn't eat them just in case.
But are they all for you anyway?
I eat the majority.
Some days allergic to
No, I eat the majority of them, but people come in and grab it.
Okay. So you're kind of trying to be nice, but deep down.
Also, my liquor cabinet gets hit hard, so yeah, more of that.
Mine's in a lock and key, and it's just for me.
Wait, you have a liquor cabinet at work?
Yeah.
Where do you work?
We're grown-ass men. That's why.
It's Friday tomorrow.
It's Friday every day.
We should go to Eagles work. I already asked Candies.
Yeah. For sure. What do you do, Simon?
Actually, on Halloween, it's my dad's birthday, so it kind of screws over Halloween for me because I have to be like with my parents.
Did you get him a gift?
Yes, I gave him a gift.
Is it candy?
Is it terrifying if he doesn't like it? Is that your Halloween scare?
Jesus. Okay.
Yeah. Is it trick or beat? No. Do you guys get like kids who come to the house?
I used to, and now everyone drives to like Valley Breeze and Westmount
because they're smart.
No, I do. I still do.
I get
like 200 kids at home.
I don't get any anymore.
At my parents, not at my place.
Yeah, we try to do is usually we stay home because we're expecting trick or treaters to never come, and then we'll watch like a couple scary movies and so on.
No, I always build like something outside for the kids, and I always do like 2 versions. So one for the very small kids.
Do the trap for the children? Is that why they don't come anymore?
They do come.
They do come. Is that why they're still there?
Yes, they're stuck. I have like 2 versions. One for like very small kids because I feel bad scaring off 2-year-olds.
Nice.
But if you can walk by yourself and your mom doesn't have to help your hand to go up the stairs, then.
So basically, 3 or older. You put a lot of work in for just a very small demographic.
No, but I feel really bad if I scare him off and he doesn't want to come up afterwards, and he's too small.
Just throw the candy at them.
But if he's 6 years old,
pelt him with candy.
If you go to school, you're allowed to be scared.
What do you do with like a 17-year-old kid who just shows up with his backpack backwards and
doesn't get shit from me?
You actually give nothing?
Nothing.
I've always given 1 piece just as like the fine.
Unless he has a really nice costume. Like if he shows up and like his costume's amazing, I'm like, this is worth it.
But you give it to a child who has a crappy costume?
Yes.
But dude,
it's not his fault.
Your standards are
if he's 4 years old, he didn't choose his costume.
So look at the parents. You say you go back home.
Yes.
You get back to work.
So a few years ago, I used to have a beer stand at my place for parents and costumes. So we give beer to the parents or coffee, depending how you are, right? And when kids had shitty costumes, the parents would not get beer or coffee.
Yes.
Peeze, we do have some questions from chat, specifically asking for Halloween, where one of our viewers can buy a Peeze mask.
A Peeze mask?
Yes. Have you figured out who may have asked this question?
I believe it's dude who's catchless this week.
That is correct.
Awesome.
It does actually bring us to our next game where we have Sons of Mitches who took on North Shore Finers.
But you didn't answer if we could have a Peeze mask. I would be you for Halloween.
It'd be an
That would scare a lot of people.
It'd be an upgrade.
Well, okay, sure.
Sons of Mitches, Sophie'd be happy. Sons of Mitches beat North Shore Finers 25-19. An injury to Jordan Williams, unfortunately, early in the game. You can describe. You can speak to it a little bit.
Yeah. So I was scorekeeping the game. Jordan Williams played quarterback for Sons of Mitches for a second straight week. Week one. Last week wasn't so great for them. Their offense didn't go anywhere. This week they found something that went really well for them, and they were driving the field. And I felt like Sons of Mitch's offense finally picked off. And so Jordan throws the pass, the rusher bats it upwards. Jordan runs forward, jumps, catches the ball, and as he lands, we just heard a pop. He fell to the ground,
It's unfortunate.
and there goes the knee. Like, it's really, like, I felt really bad for him and the team. Like, it sucks. There's
No contact, no bad play, just
just
bad luck, pure bad luck.
just jumped for the ball, came down. That was it. So I wish him a swift recovery. It's the worst thing that could happen.
Best wishes, definitely.
That's my greatest fear playing FPF, is to blow my knee out, and I would,
Which I did. It's not fun.
so it sucks. But on the flip side, like, I'm the only positive note I can think of, the backup quarterback Vince Romano that stepped in because he
I'm
had
surprised that Vince Romano stepped in and not Patrick Manning.
He was there, but he wasn't street close. Like, he wasn't dressed to play.
Okay.
So I don't know. I always expect him to, like, switch and change and play, but Vince Romano stepped in at quarterback, and their offense just. I think they scored in the following play.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they were in the red zone when it happened. I think they scored in the following play, and he had 4 passing touchdowns. And
11 for 20, 153 yards, 4 TDs, no INTs. That's
Good
good.
game.
Yeah, no, he played.
A little bit more efficiency is what you want. Obviously, passing for a little more than.
He was
a
also
little under
new,
50%,
Right?
but-
It felt like a new. Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
his throws were good, but he was a bit lost. Like, it's different when you face the rusher for the first time. But he played really well, and his connection with Jordan Farry was great.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's no other words for it. Like, really well. He had almost 100 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So on the positive note is they might have found their quarterback for the weeks to come, but it sucks that
That it took this to happen.
Yes.
Obviously, he never wanted to come down to injury.
No.
So definitely, again, speedy recovery, and happy to see Vince Romano doing well. Do you think Patrick Manning was quarterback and thought he'd be good just because his last name was Manning, and therefore he assumed it would carry
Doesn't
over?
work for Eli.
It definitely doesn't work for Patrick.
Well, I remember back in like 2012 or 11 when I used to play when Dragons used to be around. Patrick Manning used to play with the Daouz.
Lime time.
So I remember one of my guys said, "This is going to be my first and only opportunity to pick off P Manning."
Nice.
I remember that solid. So I don't know. Like, he played a few good seasons. Like, he had a few good games in spring. His first few weeks they put up like 30 something points.
It just what I've noticed.
just
And
surprised
Eagle
they
can
benched
speak
him.
this too. Is once you know what he's doing, it's
Yes.
easy to adjust to for a defense.
Very much so. And then on top of that, they run a system where the defense needs to stop the opposing team because the offense is not designed to come from behind, right?
Yeah.
They need to basically hold the lead or basically go ahead. Otherwise, you're going to lose games. You go down by 2 scores, game over.
Yeah. But I was thinking about it at the game. And is there a chance Patrick is injured?
I would imagine so if he was
Maybe.
street close and
He
not.
He did.
Because he played receiver last week for them when
Yeah.
Jordan played. But you could have like a shoulder injury and still play receiver and not quarterback.
Yeah.
So he might have not been benched because he's not good enough.
I don't think he was benched. Just like observing the team, I think what may have happened is either he's hurt, like you're saying, or it could have been just him saying, "Guys, it's not working with me at quarterback." Like
Also,
he doesn't seem to be a guy who's very egotistical and wants.
no,
to
I think I
be in
feel
charge
like,
and-
yeah.
You said he was there on street close?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
He has stats.
Yes, he was there.
He's not on the roster sheet, so I guess I don't know. He's
They
not
didn't-
flagged
they
as,
didn't give him his name. He wasn't on the roster sheet.
but he's not flagged as injured either.
No, but
So-
he was there. I saw him there,
Okay.
but he wasn't on the roster sheet. I remember seeing there, but they didn't give me his name. So they crossed him off.
Gab Gandro had a huge game for the North Shore Finers. 6 catches, 140 yards, 3 touchdowns. Yet Tristan Grennan hasn't looked amazing. And what's been off with the dude who we expected to come in and be very good in FPF to begin with?
Well, he is very good. He's the next U Laval quarterback. When he goes for deep throws, they're always spot on perfect. Like, he'll roll out, he's going to throw across his body, a perfect time. The only thing is he's forcing balls. Like, he's not reading the field at all. He's just looking at one guy, looking off, and throwing to that same guy he looked at the first time. So it looks like a tackle player playing FPF. It looks like a tackle quarterback who's told you throw to this guy on this pattern. So that's exactly what he's doing. He sees the pattern, waits, tries to bait off the defense, move the safety, and then just hit the guy again. It's not working in
But
FPF.
given how small the field is, that doesn't necessarily work in FPF.
It doesn't work because most of the guys play man or zone or whatever, so you don't... most guys don't adjust to the look off. They'll still play the man the same way, even if you're looking off him. So it's not working well. There's a lot of drops from many receivers that doesn't help him. Gendreau had 40 bombs. Most of his yardage and touchdowns came from 40 bombs, where he would just run by the DB, left uncovered, and the ball's placed perfectly 3 times.
Make a play, yeah.
I'm surprised he didn't just do it 6 times out of 6 possessions and just win. I get the point of this team was to get the other guys involved and play, but they're obviously frustrated with the fact that their offense isn't going places, and these key plays at work.
But you don't think Sons of Mitches would have adjusted and been able to take the top off?
They tried, but the guy's fast, man. John Dole's good. Like he's a good, fast receiver, and every time you would go deep, you would get the ball. They did it 3 times, or were 3 times. Otherwise, he would just run hooks.
Yeah.
News from the YouTube live chat. Apparently, the reason why Manning wasn't playing is because he was under the weather. And on top of that, Jordan Frey wants to do a little shout out to the North Shore Finner players for helping them out during that injury and everything.
Yeah.
So a great group of guys, and
they are really nice guys.
Yeah,
I've been
good
to 2 of their
sportsmanship on that.
games.
Yeah.
And they seem to be really good dudes, and happy to hear that. Happy to hear that there's that level of camaraderie, and of course happy to see Armando Trotta had 0 catches. Dawson's Cats Finest took on the Farmers. They won 24-19. Surprising result? Question mark? Sorry, surprising result?
Question mark? A little bit. I expected, like, Farmers' that offense has been rolling recently. Like the quarterback Benoit Robidoux has been playing well. Like turnovers were not so present recently, and he's been putting up good numbers, except this week. 3 for 5. It's not 3 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. It's not the kind of numbers we've grown to expect.
Those are Peeze numbers.
Yes, or Mocons.
Yeah,
or Simons.
Or Eagle. Let's get Eagle for the quarterback. It'd be the funniest.
Oh, that would be great. Let's do it.
50 interceptions in 3 weeks.
Div 6. We're coming.
No, he needs a lower division.
Div 8. No, I'm a bit surprised by the results, but I think it just shows that Dawson Caps Finest are better than we give them credit for.
They're very good athletes. I mean, seen them play. They're Anna Petruccelli, for example. Don Petruccelli, very good at getting across the field, specifically on the defensive side of the ball. And they had 4 interceptions in this game, as you alluded to. And you look, like, George Span only had like 60 yards passing, and it just allowed him to control the pace of the game, manage the game. And like, people look at a game manager as like a bad thing. I don't think it's bad.
No, it's smart.
It put him in the position to win the game, which is what he did. Given again that this isn't a group of guys who are necessarily his guys and his system and so on. So definitely we see that, and we see that the Dawson's Cats Finest, their defense is improving, Simo. It's 2 weeks in a row they allow less than 20 points, less than 3 touchdowns.
That's very good.
And anytime you're allowing less than 3 scores, you have a chance to win the game.
Yes. Well, you should win technically.
Yeah.
But I think it proves that they're a new team. They're learning. It takes a few games to get to know FPF, and that's what they're doing.
Nick Lefebvre, though, for Farmers. Eagle, who are Farmers?
Bum, ba-dum, bum, bum.
Nick Lefebvre had 2 touchdowns and an interception.
It's not the same when we have to ask for
I
it.
know. An impressive player. Who was little known. When I played against him, I was amazed at his ability to get across the field. I played in a game where it was 4-1, no lock.
Bold.
And he was the one. Dude, I'm telling you, his ability to get to the sideline was insane. I was like, alright, fly.
Alright. Are you sure it was no lock, or just they didn't know how to run it?
It's back then.
Because there's the one thing doing it on purpose, another thing just, we're running a 4-1.
To be honest, it was the team was City Kipla, not amazing.
Kipla, yeah.
And so it could have been the case. But
they didn't understand the concept of 4-1.
I'll tell you what, it gave him the opportunity to make ridiculous plays.
Sideline to sideline.
And it was, but on top of that, he's such a good receiver, and he's not a guy who complains. He's a guy they've used that rush when they needed to. They've used the September City Kipla when he played there. And they used a quarterback when they really had nobody.
Man, I love guys like that. I should get him on my team.
Seriously, he's talented.
Give me a call. I wouldn't want to play with you.
Honestly, he's a guy.
Give me a call.
Who's a guy you could think of, Simon, that now is like a household FPF name, who, like, when he came out, when he started playing, like, that guy's not bad, and then all of a sudden, everyone knows him because he's amazing.
Justin Blanchard.
I guess Justin talks about himself a lot.
Yes. Well, before the finals MVP moment, he wasn't known so much. He had like good seasons, but it wasn't.
Phil Kovacic for me.
Yeah.
Filigovic is a guy
that's
like
true.
just came out of nowhere, absolutely, and just started
Well,
dominating.
he was
his roster.
dropped by the Predators for some reason.
Yeah.
I would look at even rosters in general, right? Game changers. You look at Justin Filto, Anton Sakis. There are names that don't they came immediately, right? You're like they're suddenly on your tip of the tongues on every single podcast that we ever did. So that's that one for sure. I would say Incredible, same thing.
Yeah.
Marco Bertoldi, Greg Stern, Jacob Peterson.
A
Those
lot
names
of
were
Mark
came
was
out
a
of
good
nowhere,
example.
right?
Well, but Jacob Peterson, for example, Jacob Peterson right away and Greg Stern right away were stars.
Yeah.
Where a guy like Marco Bertoldi took a while for.
Well, he was
FPF
under
Cup.
like the shadows of them, right?
Yeah,
I think about
Exactly.
it.
But now, like, he's also on them.
Absolutely.
Solid.
You mentioned Predators before.
Yes.
That reminds me of Harvey Weinstein.
Wow.
He just, man, like,
Wow.
this has been such a weird year for a lot of things.
It's all coming up, like, all at the same time. Him, Roson. Well, in Quebec,
Well,
right? Like,
one
from
started the other, right? I mean, one's a
Yes.
trend, and then all of a sudden,
Quebec. People are speaking up and saying, oh, it happened
Which-
to me too.
which is great. I mean, don't get me
Yes,
wrong, it's great.
It's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's true that it's the reason why some people are speaking up. So, like, hey, listen, it happened to me too. I should also speak up and say something.
You need that one person with the courage to kind of come out and say it, and then from that point onwards, everyone else kind of builds
It's
upon that
easier to
with
follow.
strength. Yeah.
And to lead.
Yeah, and the thing is that it's interesting because it's reminded me that the internet comment section is the worst place on earth.
Wow. There's so many bad things.
And it's just like, this is a dude who had sexual assault in his mind permissible because it was written into a contract, which, by the way, you can't write a contract that circumvents the law. It's like the first rule of writing contracts. For example, it's like, hey, Simo, sign this contract. Awesome. Now I get to kill your family. Like, it doesn't work that way. Laws still exist for a reason. So definitely a bizarre circumstance. He's a guy who already had a bit of an odd reputation before anyone knew anything per se.
Well, there was years of like the subtle jokes in Hollywood and everything,
Yeah.
right? But finally, it came like
the whole
front and center.
the casting couch, the concept of the casting couch,
Yeah.
which is now a central theme in much pornography, has come from
Yes.
the exploits of Harvey Weinstein. So it's
And it's making itself in Quebec too, and with the recent news of Eric Servaille and everything. So
Yeah, well,
there's a
yeah.
local.
There's
twist to
Sarvaille,
it.
there's also Gilles Roson, like the CEO of Juste pour Rire.
yeah, it's funny because I've been having a rough couple
It's our
weeks at work.
Weinstein version of Quebec.
But like you had mentioned that when we were talking about the like pre-show meeting or whatever, and I googled, I was like, seriously, this is what's going on?
yeah,
and his one actually back to like 1998. Like that's a long long history. You know what I mean? So, well, it's similar to Harvey Weinstein. This
To be fair, like it could have been like a one-time incident that happened so far ago, but now it kind of
it doesn't appear to
but
be.
it's not.
It really doesn't appear to be.
It's not a one-time thing.
No, for sure.
And everyone has those moments where you say something stupid and you're like, look back and I maybe shouldn't have said that or whatever, right? Made
Yeah, but there's a
someone feel
difference
uncomfortable.
between saying something
And then
stupid
actually-
and apologizing for it, and it has happened to so many people so many times that people want to speak up and you lose your job. Like, I could say something to you, El, and you're not gonna want me to lose my job, right? Like, I could come up to you tomorrow,
I just shrug it off because it's not worth it, you know? It's not
or
worth the
apologize for
paperwork.
it. Say, listen, I made a
But
mistake.
then
I'm
if
sorry.
he sexually assaults you, it's different.
Yes, no, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like it's
If you say something that's not déplacé,
yeah.
then I could apologize for that and we can move on. But there's things that you cannot move on from.
Definitely. And that was one such secret. We did in the last segment mention Marco Bertoldi. His BearSkins beat Top Secret 41-18. The second win now for BearSkins in this tournament. This one impressive. And,
Finally.
And Neil Ettinson, after letting his D bail him out, having a great game. Because last week they won despite him throwing 4 interceptions.
Okay. Yes.
Because I saw you doubting.
I thought you meant this week. I'm like, no, not so much.
I said a week after.
Yeah, sorry.
This is the week after. Neil Ettinson was nearly perfect in this game.
He played really well. 6 passing touchdowns. There's a few incompletes that should have been completions. Like, he made the right throw. It's just the guy dropped the ball.
Mhm.
Yes, I'm speaking to you, Kyle. And yeah, I spoke to Kyle after the game. But Neil played well. Finally, I think he's clicking with his offense now. They had Gordon Ogan play for them.
Clicking with his offense. It's the same roster for the last few years.
Yeah.
Yes, but
He
Like, you make
really,
it seem
really,
like-
really need to get the timing down.
yeah, no, it was.
It really was for a year.
I
Like,
know
did
what
he
you mean.
develop amnesia overnight or something?
No,
Or-
I know what you
Yeah.
mean, but like Kyle has been new to his offense. He's not been used the way he could be used. We know
Lebowski.
Kyle's the kind of guy that gets 15 to 20
So you have to
touchdowns
remember
a
that
season.
it's not just the Lebowski family that's watching this podcast.
Yes.
Sometimes you need to say the full name so they know who you're talking
So
about.
everybody knows.
Yeah.
So Kyle Lebowski
Thank you. The great Lebowski.
is the kind of guy that could get 10 to 20 touchdowns in a season. He has in the past, so on and so on. But
His family, if they're watching, are very proud.
but he's not being used this way in this offense. And I think it's not because they don't want to. It's because Neil doesn't have the timing with him, and it's not working well so far.
He does have the timing with Marco Bertoldi, who did catch 3 touchdowns. How do you let a guy burn you for 3 touchdowns in the game?
It was also always post patterns.
Well, that's how he scores 85% of his touchdowns, by the way.
But I mean, if the guy burns you on post once and does it a second time, at some point you have to pick it up.
You know what they say? If you fool me first time, shame on you. Fool me second time, shame on me. Third time, bro, change your safety.
Bro.
that's basically that's an old saying.
Yeah.
My grandmother told me that once.
Bro, change your safety.
She was talking about condoms. But Zachary Keyverger takes over at the role at quarterback
For the second time.
for the second straight game, correct? Looks to be as though that's the direction they're going. I'm going to ask a question about him. But while I do that, Eagle, bring up Zachary Keyverger's player profile picture. And you can look that up too, Steve, while I'm talking to you. But he takes over a quarterback for the second straight game. You can put that up on the screen.
I'm scared.
I'm curious as to, when you look at Zachary Keyverger, if it looks like he knows where the body is buried and you don't. He's coming for you. He actually one season he kept tweeting me with his profile picture as like a threat that I wasn't talking enough about his team. He's a funny guy. He's a funny exactly. Or is he trying to read something on the inside of his eyelids? Is that the other?
He looks like the guy you would buy cigarettes from.
Like illegal, like
Yes.
Indian Reserve cigarettes.
What do you mean?
American Indian, no.
Aboriginal.
Native. I was born at a different time, guys. Yes,
What do you
exactly.
I like it.
Do you have a looks like for Zachary Keyverger? Yeah, I know.
Yes,
he tweeted this picture to me once a week a couple of seasons ago as a threat to talk about his team.
I like this guy.
He's amazing.
I know I have a look-alike. But to answer your
creativity is really not your strength.
But to answer your previous question, yes, I think it's the best move for top secret. He's a good quarterback.
Yeah, I think also it allows both Nick Sarro and Alexis Labonte to play quarterback.
Yes,
to play a receiver rather.
He's also a better quarterback than both of them.
Absolutely. But the thing is, you looked at the team. He's like, hey, these are 2 very great pieces on offense that they couldn't use because they couldn't throw the ball to each other.
Yes. I just find that the problem with Top Secret is their offense. They're lacking weapons. It's not the quarterback's been playing well. He's learning FPF.
You find they're lacking weapons on offense?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. Well, look at the roster on
because.
Again, that's what I'm saying. Jesus. If you put up the roster this week, they have Nick Saho had pretty much 50 or more percent of the yards. Do you have the roster up?
It was Nick Sato for 5 receptions, 72 yards, 2 TDs. He got the primary amount.
Yes.
JS Collin had 2 receptions, 29 yards. Kevin Gauthier, 2 receptions, 26 yards, 1 TD. Alex Labonte, 3 receptions, 14 yards. Louis Michel Archambault for 1 reception, 6 yards.
I mean, it's not a bad offense, especially against the BearSkins team that's not.
It's not a bad offense, but who's your number 1 on this team?
Nick Sato.
Nick Sato.
Who's your number 2? Is Nick Sato really your number 1?
I mean...
personally,
depending how your offense is run.
I was gonna say you can build
he's a number 1
offense around these guys.
He's a number 1 in the way that Jarvis Landry is the Miami Dolphins number 1. He's a guy who catches a lot of underneath passes, moves the chains. Okay. He's not the guy who's gonna put up a ton of touchdowns.
Yeah, you're not gonna run goes with this team, right?
But they don't have Devontae Parker, so you end up having Nick Saho running goes constantly on the sideline and not breaking open. It happened one time, good for him, but he doesn't have that speed anymore. He's an underneath kind of guy. Colin is great, but yeah, he's very up and down.
I find he's a better defender than an offensive player. He's a good receiver. He's fine, but he's definitely a much better defender.
Yes, he's a better defender, and he has good weeks and bad weeks.
Mm-hmm.
If you hit him on a bad week...
But if Sato's your number 1 guy, you should be designing plays around him. Yeah. Open up zones, put him in those spots. Take defenders away, and if they pick up on Sato and they double team him, you hit whatever's going to be open, right?
Yes.
So that's the system they have to run. If they're not running that and they're basically depending on him and just everyone else is just there, well, there's your problem.
Okay.
I think you can build an offense with this team.
I agree. It's been an odd week or so in Quebec. to a divided province as the Bill 62
Where are you going with this?
was passed. Well, if you listen, you'll get there. Bill 62 was passed. It's known colloquially as the burqa ban.
Yes.
So for those who don't know, it's a law that, and Eagle, you can maybe fill in the details and I'm misquoting or whatnot, but it prevents people from wearing any religious garments, and specifically targeted towards a burqa and niqab on while using any public service, up to and including riding the bus.
Yes.
It's a bizarre law. It's really written from a bizarre place. So I don't think the government has the right to tell people what to wear. Personally, so I'm not a believer of big government. I think the government should be one person, and he shouldn't even have that much to say. But I have a very odd view of government to begin with. So
the way I see it, the way I read it the first time, I thought it was like STM employees. They did the bus driver gonna wear a burqa, which the same way I would say cops. I find it's okay.
I mean, they can wear cargo pants.
Yeah,
and leopard print tights.
My point is, if it's not you're embodying something, then embody what you're trying to be. But if you're riding the bus to go to work, wear whatever you want. There's no dress code to ride the bus.
Apparently, right? there is a dress code.
So to me, that's like that. The only reason I could see this is you have a picture on the card to take the bus there.
But who cares? Who ultimately cares?
Exactly.
There's no big.
To me, that's the only thing I could think of is that like the bus scams. And really, like back in the days, we used to swipe cards. You know,
used to walk into the back door of the bus.
Yeah, so it's too full. Just come in the back. Okay.
Exactly.
It was voted 466 against 51 in the National Assembly, by the way. So it did. I mean, it was reasonably close to a degree.
Yeah. But it just seems
it's weird.
It's a weird law, and like,
what's the need? Like, was this really a problem?
That's what I'm saying. Like, were there that many people using falsified religious garments to sneak onto buses?
Was this really a problem in Quebec to vote this, spend money on this?
It seems really strange. It's in a province that I feel has too much government involvement. It feels like another step. So that's interesting. Eagle, you've been quiet on your thoughts, but I want you equally fired. Are you going to say that you love it because it's your beloved liberal government that you never questioned?
I understand it in the wait. I understand in a way where you need to be identified to offer the service for whatever reason. I don't understand it.
But is it really a problem? Is there really? I
love how he's trying to be politically correct.
Is there really a scam where a population that makes up less than 16% of our population in Quebec is scamming the government for millions of dollars with false political? To be fair,
it's like $100 a month now. So it scales fast.
I would say not enough to have actually enforced this.
To enforce a law. Okay, and the other thing that came to me when I saw
this. So you said not enough, which means you think
you do think it's just not.
The principle of you need to identify yourself to receive a service at a government institution makes perfect sense to me. That part of it makes sense. But is it enough to really have gone through the whole process and everything?
You're taking the bus.
So, but I mean, like, what's the next step? Should we allow people? Should we allow the government to take thumbprints and
no? It's
log our entries everywhere we go.
Next step is 3-piece suit only in the bus. You're done.
And then aside from that, like, it's just funny because the way it's being sold is like, well, these are oppressive these are oppressive things that women are wearing. But it's like, you leave the country where you were oppressed and you come here and you cannot wear what you want, so therefore further oppressed. It seems really bizarre.
I think the weird part for me is how the hell are they planning to enforce it for public transportation? I get it. Like maybe
you
like
can't get on, take your shit off.
Like the SAAQ or something.
What's the driver going to do? Call the cops?
Theoretically, they can.
She get like someone gets on the bus and they're like, no, you can't get on.
Yeah, but okay. So what are you gonna do? Call the cops?
Yeah, I guess so.
Every time. Yeah. That bus is never gonna go anywhere.
No, this is gonna suck.
I live in the south. I used to. That bus is not going places.
It's just like I said. To me, I'm not a big believer in government being able to just decide things like what you should wear.
That's a weird thing to overrule.
And there was something similar for voting, right? Where you had to identify yourself at the voting booth, and which again I understand.
That's fine.
But you understand the rationale behind it. This over here, I don't really understand as much.
Like,
It's hard
show
to
your
justify.
face to vote.
So
Okay, cool.
So then, can someone refuse service because they're wearing a toque and therefore the ability to see their hair is a defining
Yes,
feature?
this could be a bus cam.
Well, okay, and in a weird twist of things, if you're coming from a funeral and you have a veil, theoretically you fall under this as well because it's considered a religious garment, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not. I mean, yes, I understand. It's in the same way classrooms no longer have the crucifixes, even though we were considered. They're. I'm trying. It's really not helping.
You're really trying. You're rationalizing something that doesn't have any rationale.
So when you said funeral and the veil, my mind went straight to like weddings and the white.
Isn't it bizarre that we wear the same thing?
So I was like, so if you have a wedding, you can't take the bus afterwards. And then my mind went through, if you have a wedding, you need to take the bus afterwards. You might need to rethink your priorities.
Does that mean you can't ride the bus if you're wearing a yarmulke? Because it's considered a religious garment.
It doesn't necessarily. It doesn't impede them from seeing your.
What's the clause specifically, though?
That's
Is it
why
no religious
I asked
garments?
you to look it up when I started talking.
It's a 40-page bill in French. I'm not gonna read it.
Figure it out.
That's the problem, though. Is no one reads it.
Control F. Make it happen.
Because that would be weird.
I think the implication is the religious garment. I don't think it actually targets.
I agree. So, but then, what religious garments are considered like if you're wearing?
But that's why the law is
Swords.
considered to be sort of Islamophobic, is that it only targets one religion that has such garments.
Because it's called the burqa ban, not the religious garment
It's
ban.
not called the burqa. We call it colloquially the burqa.
Yes, because if the bill was called burqa ban, there would be protests.
Eagle, you have some winter math to talk about.
Yes. So
frozen numbers.
Yeah, so basically we were kind of trying to figure out what we were going to do. So the new rosters, as we mentioned, our ratings are ready. We're actually trying to figure out a way to put them on the website without removing any existing ratings so that the FPF Cup can continue. Usually this isn't a problem because there's usually not an overlap, but this time there is. So we have them ready. We're working on some changes in the back-end structure so that can happen, so registration will happen the same way. But then at the same time, we were also looking at, why do we for the FPF Cup, for example, we combine your top 6 offense with your top 6 defense for a total team score, yet in the winter or spring season, we force you to have an individual value for offense and defense. And it's a good question in certain ways. Simon, I'll give you a chance to actually answer why we keep them separate if you know.
I was not prepared for this. No, but
I was told
then take your best guess then.
Just in my opinion, the way we do it is you want to keep a certain balance, so you don't want a team that's very imbalanced. Let's say you have a 300 offense but a 600 defense. Fair, that's not going to happen. But there's a lot of guys like that who have a very strong defensive rating with a weak offensive rating and so on. So by having two, instead of combining them for a total, we put them separate so the teams are more balanced and you're not facing a very stacked defense that doesn't put up a lot of points, and then it's tough to play against. Whereas flip side, they always put up 60 points, even though their defense sucks. We can stop them.
I actually don't know, but it sounds like he's wrong.
It's reasonably close, actually, and I'll use a good example that everyone can relate to. Kevin Weiss is a very good one, right? His QB rating 99.987. One of them.
I think it's going down.
God damn it, Simon.
I didn't say I do. I didn't look at the sheet.
So basically, he's very high, almost 100 on offense, and then his defense scores like, I don't know, 72, 70, something like that, whatever it is. So which means that if you combine offensive and defensive, he's effectively like an 85. So now Kevin Wyeth is 85. 85.
Yeah, if you combine them.
If you combine them. So that doesn't seem right. So basically, we're trying to keep the winter and fall, winter and spring separating the offense and the defensive scores individually. So exactly that. There's a little bit more parity. You can't really stack a team on one side of the ball. FPF Cup also, the rankings, the way they're done is that depending on where you ended up with your total, you ended up between rank 1 and 40, right? So there's a little bit kind of more subjectiveness in terms of the placement versus everything. Whereas here, you're going to be put in with other teams fitting the same type of cap. So if you stack your team in one direction, if you're a middle of the pack team, it would just adding more complexity. So we kept them separate. So that's going to be ready soon, TM.
So I was
so late.
Soon,
late.
TM.
So I was right.
Simon, do you have your top 5 players this week?
We said we didn't do it. You said we're not doing it.
No, I did it on purpose to make you look bad.
You said
Eagle, riddle us.
We're not done yet. We have more games.
Do we have more games?
Yes.
Which other games?
What are you talking about?
Good
You forgot a
times.
couple games.
Fine. Greendale Human Beings took on Voodoo. They won 38-32. It was a great game. The return of Big Dan and Danny Aylward. Happy to hear he's doing well. Happy to see him doing well. Sorry, man, you bored me to death with your math talk, so I fell asleep.
Well, winter math. I was thinking
math.
frozen numbers.
Frozen numbers?
Winter math. And then he's like, oh, the caps for winter season. I was like, oh, that's not where my mind went. I was like, frozen peas, carrots, numbers. You know.
Are you done?
You are the worst at this.
Danny Aylward was all over the place, running, throwing, and on defense, etc. Simone, you get to chime in on Danny Aylward's performance bravely after he.
So he was sick, right? Like he couldn't play for.
He had surgery.
Yes. Well.
He's running around like a madman. Good for him.
Yeah. No, it's right.
Well, it's been like 2
I
or 3 weeks.
texted with him and he told me he was expecting to come back this week. And I was like, wow, that's amazing that he healed that quickly. So, but on top of that he played the normal Danny Aylward way. Very impressive.
He didn't come back just to sit in the pocket and do nothing.
No, and he had an interception on defense as well.
Yeah. Danny's a very good player. His team needs him. Mm-hmm. Like in this setting, he's the MVP of Greendale Human Beings. Yeah. And without him, the team's not the same. So to have him back makes a very big difference. And honestly, I wasn't Voodoo would have won without Danny playing.
Yeah. And I mean, it's a game I could have seen going either way. And that's, a tribute to these two teams because the game was close. It could have, in fact, gone either way.
Alex Joltopov, if I'm pronouncing that right, at 125 yards receiving on the same pattern. He ran the exact same pattern over and over, and they couldn't stop it. They couldn't do anything.
It's I know the play. It's sort of like a modified take on the triple slants where the slot does a quick out, he does a bubble hook and finds a hole or continues to the sideline depending on whether it's like a double read between him and the quarterback. Where when you have good chemistry,
you kept going to the sideline over and
the thing is,
over.
Once you see that the guy that your defender's sitting in the middle, you're free to take it up the sideline.
Yeah, the play design's great. It's just when you see it happen once, twice, 3 times, you should change your safety, right? But the problem is it was short patterns. But he took the yaks afterwards were also very impressive. Where we would go start towards the sideline, catch the ball, turn up, and he would always get like 15 yards. Constantly. And
well, they did it. That's how they won a championship.
Yes,
was running that play over and over and over again.
So when you look at the stat sheet, takes his brother Brandon Elward to have like a monstrous game again since his brother's back. He's gonna have another 200 yards. No, he kept him in check pretty much, but they went somewhere else, and that proves that this team has some depth. Like you can't just take away Brandon and win.
Martin Bergeron and Michael Ledessar had big games losing after Voodoo. Michel Ledessar had 3 sacks.
Yeah,
he's a rusher I've hated playing against because he's so tall.
Yep,
and he's quicker than he looks. He looks like a big lumbering dude, but he's not. He gets to the spot.
What's your question?
Just wanted you to talk about Voodoo.
Would you like to comment?
Well, no, but I thought you were keep going.
I want to try to. You free to come to the podcast next week?
So yeah,
that would be a great podcast.
Danny Aylward's a hard QB to rush too.
You know what's good about Armando Trada? You know he'll never miss a show. You know he'll never be sick because he can't catch anything.
By the way, he wanted to know: do you think the Raiders or Chiefs are going to win tonight?
Chiefs.
Well, the Raiders are already up, so I'm saying Raiders.
Well, okay, so this is coming from a diehard Raiders fan, not me, Mokan. The Raiders are going to lose, so you know.
I do think the Chiefs are probably a better team. But the NFL's been strange, and just the thing is obvious is never obvious. So the Raiders.
Also, no burkas. It's the principle. You cannot give those people religious immunity.
Did you finally start reading the thing?
Not finally. I got to it now because there's a moment.
I mean, I guess.
Was that your segue for Voodoo?
Yeah. Speaking of Voodoo.
No, but seriously though, rushing Danny Aylward's no joke, right?
No.
The movement is hard. To get 3 sacks on that, is it coverage or is it just that he actually got to him?
I have a feeling that it's coverage due to how he runs his offense. So if he starts rolling to one side and you're able to contain him between the sideline and the rusher, he's going to take that sack instead of throwing it away. Yeah. They're not big sacks. He's going to move up to I lost a yard.
Yeah.
Like he's smart that way. Instead of trying to discard the ball, it might be
sometimes
picked
it's better to take a 1-yard sack than to gain 2 yards rushing.
Yes. Because you still have that in your playbook. You can still run, so they have to play. It's just they're not necessarily 10 or 15-yard sacks that changes the pace of the game. So I feel like there's 2 sides to the coin in sacks. But yes, Michel Ledessar is a very good and underrated rusher.
For sure. Eagle. Riddle us.
I am a fruit.
Yes.
If you take away...
Over.
Fruitcake.
Do you want to explain this segment?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
In Riddle Me Eagle, Eagle will give us a riddle, and each week we will decide what we believe the riddle to be. Eagle will then choose which of our answers is the better answer, and that will become the new answer to the riddle.
Because learning sucks.
We're not about learning on this show.
Not just the show, by the way.
In general.
All right, so this week, wordplay.
You are a fruit.
I am a fruit.
Fruitcake.
If you take away the first letter of my name, I become a crime.
Root.
Take away the first two letters of my name, I become an animal. Take away the first letter and the last letter of my name, and I become a form of music.
I know the answer.
What am I? Peas?
Can I start?
All right, so if you...
I know the
I'm
answer.
a fruit.
You're agreed?
Take away the first letter of my name,
Okay.
you're going to jail.
Root.
I'm not you're bad at these.
No, we're great.
Take away the first two letters of my name and I become an animal. And no, it's not oot.
I love my pet Oot.
Take away the first and last letter of my name and I become a form of music.
Really?
Okay, so the first one, if you take away the first letter, becomes...
I know the answer.
It's easy. I want to say tangerine because I've always been rinses for tangerine. Angerine?
Simon, would you
Well,
like
the real
to...
answer is grape.
It's fair.
Because rape, ape, and rap.
It's fair. It's well done.
Simon
Wow.
knows English better than you do, Peeze.
Angerine. I've been arrested for angerine.
my mind first went to banana. I'm like, banana is not a form of crime.
I was stuck on banana for a long time.
Banana is not sort of crime, but it's also another fruit. So, but nana doesn't sound like rap, so I can...
Nana doesn't sound like rap. Correct. Am I going for one, going for two? I just want to talk a little bit about the Kirkland Field. There's some special rates available to players who may want to rent them for preseason games. Eagle is too early. I didn't get your final thoughts. A rough week for everyone involved.
No, but Kirkland, they're offering cheaper than all the other venues we could get at a good price. Also, they have new lighting, new ventilation, so it's not sticky and hot anymore. It's actually good breeze, and the lighting is much better than it used to be, which is amazing. They did something to the turf. I'm not sure what it is.
They reset the turf because last year they kind of rushed it a little bit, and so at certain points you felt it didn't stick, and we thought that over time it was going to get better with the pressure, and eventually they said, screw it, we're going to do it again. So they reset all the turf.
So now it's better. I've tried it. I've been there.
The padding next to the hockey boards too is really thick now, which is very good, because beforehand people felt like, oh, I'm going to get hurt. I think it's like 8 inches now.
Yeah, so truth behind it is the dimensions did not change, but lighting, ventilation is better. The turf is not as bad as it used to be. It's actually decent now, and the batting is better, so you will not get hurt. Try it. Well, some of you guys will have to, but it's not. It's much better now.
Also, if you're someone who's like me and is not a very strong-armed quarterback, it's easier to throw deep on the sideline because in the narrow field you look great.
Yes.
Simo, final thoughts?
I'm better at Riddle Me Eagle than you are.
Apparently.
I'm like 2 out of 3 out of those.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
And to be fair, a nana is a crime.
Yeah, I hate dudes who commit a nana. Eagle, final thoughts?
Okay. Apologies to A Squad versus Commission, who we forgot again.
We didn't forget them if we didn't.
I specifically left them off the script because I didn't feel like talking about them. My notes were, Simo will say something. So there's that.
Basically, they have to be better for us to talk about them.
Yeah, but people can't see the script,
We
so
cover
they
them
wouldn't
all
know.
the time. Seriously, there's no reason for you to bring it up.
Yeah.
My apologies to Eagle, who is perhaps the worst performance he's had all
And
season.
we've had Chapman as a producer.
Yeah,
That sets the bar.
seriously.
It's low, by the way, for those who don't get it. Eagle.
Yeah, my final thoughts are worse than Chapman. Thank you, Simo.
Yes.
Eagle, I would thank you, but never mind.
Am I better than
Thank you
Chapman?
to those who wrote into the show for Sons of Mitches. I do appreciate the information. I do appreciate you guys watching. But most of all, thank you all for letting me be myself. You're worse than Chapman.